Yes, and we're back on hashtag SU. Today is April 11, 2016, and we have for our guests two of our alumni from Silliman University. One is working in Australia, and another one is soon going to join the teaching workforce at Silliman University. Mr. Hans Denzil Villahermosa and, of course, Mr. Xavier Villagonzalo. So before we paused for a commercial break, we were asking Hans about the values that have been inculcated in him as a young person studying in high school and finally when he joined the university. Hans.
One of the things that I really learned, ma'am, no, when I was especially in college was really the value of humility. Because, a lot of things, a lot of successes may come your way. And I've experienced that there are really moments that you really feel and you really think that you can do anything and that you can never go wrong. But, I think that my college, the College of Education, and including you, ma'am, as my mentor before, you have never failed in, letting everyone, especially me, and letting everyone, realize that it's always a never-ending process of learning. So, even though I've always believed that no matter what successes you achieve in your life, there will always still be people above you and who you can always learn from them. So I think one of the things that I've always been proud of, especially when I was the president, I never really acted like I was really the most prominent person in the university when I was a president. I just did my best to attend to the responsibilities because at the end of the day, I'm still a student, also have other responsibilities as well. So also when I was already teaching, I think this is also one of the greatest dilemmas that teachers really face. I think you have faced this too, ma'am.
What is it?
Whenever when you go and, in our classroom and when you realize that our students actually know more than you do, I think that's a really humbling experience. It's up to you as a teacher to take the better step, which is to accept that you have to learn from them as well, because not because you're the teacher that you are the main source of information and learning. I think that's also what makes me really passionate about teaching, ma'am, because every day is a learning process for me as well.
Yeah, that's true. Teaching is not just a one-way process, but you also learn from your students. And my goodness, you never have realized perhaps the talent, that are embedded, the talents that are embedded in many of our young people today. And it's really very amazing. And Hans, may I pursue it further? Not only were you a student leader, you also had your share of fame, because you were Mr. Hibalag. Okay. Yeah, he was Mr. Hibalag. He sings, and you have your own share of adulation, Hans. Now, talking about humility, and that's a very good, right, Save, no? It's a very good value. It should be an inherent value in each one of us. Now, can you imagine? Both of you gentlemen are successful, but looking at you now, I don't think there is any, swell-headedness that is in each one of you, But may I ask Hans, because as I said, I'd like to pursue this further. You had your own share of adulation. It never in any way or at any time get into or got into your head or something like that? And how did you grapple with it? Sometimes we get drowned by fame. No? Sometimes we get overwhelmed by the fact that, my goodness, there are ladies screaming, and we are popular inside the campus. How did you grapple with that challenge?
I actually had a very, I think one of the instances, ma'am, where I really learned about humility and that really life gave me an aha moment was when, ever since, before I even got into leadership pursuits, I was already into performing. And when I stepped in college, my primary goal was to be a part and to be a major, a lead character in a play in Silliman University. Because I was always amazed. I've always been amazed with musicals, with plays, especially in Silliman University.
You
So
acted. Okay.
when I was
Anyway.
so that was really my goal, ma'am, to be a part of the College of Performing and Visual Arts. So because actually it was also one of my choices when I went to college. So when I had a chance to be a part of Ampalaya the Musical.
Yes,
I was a part of Ampalaya the Musical.
Of course.
Yeah, that's the second when we went to CCP. When we
So
went
you
to
were
CCP.
part of that group, no?
I was part of that group. And then, your question really occurred to me, ma'am, because I was thinking, okay, I am the student government of, I am the president of the student government of Silliman University. And then when I became a part of the play, I was given a a minimal role. The role, I mean, I was part of the cast of the vegetables of Ampalaya, but I was a vegetable which only has two lines. So very minimal, actually. So a lot of people were asking me now, why did you accept it when you have a lot of things to attend to? You are graduating, you have all of this and that, you have the licensure examination for
Prepare
teachers.
for, no?
Yes, and then you accept that very small role. It's not that big of a role, really. So I was thinking, this is what I really want. This is what I'm passionate about. It's not about, and I think really the discipline in theater really helped me as well, because there I've learned, there are people I've looked up to, yet they have been into very big roles in the past, and then they are part now of a certain play, and their role is very minimal. So their humility is actually something that inspired me as well. So I said, this is what I've been always passionate about. So whatever role you give me, I will do it, because this is what I love doing. And it doesn't matter if I was this, I was that, because at the end of the day, it's all about pursuing what you really want and making yourself feeling that.
Yeah. And I think, Hans, even if it was a two-liner role, I think there is nothing insignificant about anything that you do, right? It may have been very minuscule, but you make it very significant. You make it sound like you're the major character.
And then at the end of the day, Mom, you're doing it for yourself.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
The experience has really been amazing. I had a
Exactly.
chance to go to CCP and
Yeah.
meet a lot of people as well.
Correct,
People
correct.
I've never imagined being friends with right now. So it's not really about the role
Yeah.
in theater, but it's about the experience that you
Yes.
get, and I'm actually very grateful for
And
that.
it's very humbling, huh? Because
Yes, very
here you
humbling.
are, a popular campus figure, being president, and and so on, but accepting what we may call as an insignificant role. But you made it big. You made it look like it is really very significant.
Yeah,
huh?
it was very important for me,
Yeah,
really. I
yes.
had to really dedicate a lot of time. Late night practices,
Correct,
ma'am,
correct.
I even got to the point of missing some of our review classes for LET, especially in the earlier part, because I had to go to
Fly to
CCP,
Manila,
and then also shows. We have to do shows. There were a lot of shows for Ampalaya, so I really had to miss a lot of sessions for LET. But at the end of the day, it's about the experience.
But I think it was truly a great experience and exposure for you as well. Now, Xavier, in a
Yes, ma'am.
foreign country, how do you manage to keep your feet both on the ground? Because sometimes it can get, it can get pretty overwhelming. The recognition that you got from no less than the Lord Mayor of Brisbane can be, exhilarating, But how do you manage to keep your feet both on the ground and not get it into your head?
That's right. I always go back to where I come from in terms of how I started. Like I told you in the previous interview, my mom died in a vehicular accident. So she was a public school teacher in Shaton, and then around 20 critically injured passengers. She was the only one who passed away. So then my dad died of diabetes complications. So
After how many years again? I'm sorry for bringing that up.
it was 1994. I was
your
just 9 years old.
Your
Yeah.
mama died in
13th April 1994. So we'll
1994.
be celebrating
Okay.
death anniversary.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And then your papa.
My father died when I was 21 due to diabetes complication.
Okay, yes.
So
Xavier
I-
has actually been through a lot.
That's
no?
right.
Yeah.
And
okay.
one of the things that you made mention earlier is about the values. I think for me, three C's I call them: courage, competence, and character. Courage because you might have to go through all these challenges, but I always listen to what my mom said. Xavier, life has lots of twists and turns. If you stumble and fall, don't ever give up. Hold on to your dreams and believe in yourself. And what matters most is your faith that you can always do it, no matter how hard it is. And
competence?
competence is everyone can have qualifications as well, but sometimes it's always nice to have something to experience with the extracurricular activities. So when I was handpicked as a student ambassador, that was the time when I was the president of the Filipino students in Brisbane. So everyone can have qualifications, but your experience in engaging in extracurricular activities, it holds more water. So they prefer someone who has more volunteer work experience. And lastly, character. You might be the most brilliant person in the world, but if you don't have friends, if you got a bad character, you don't have friends. And I feel that whatever success I may have, little or big, I always go back to my family to share it. And I think that talks about character of an individual.
Yeah. And now I'd like to ask you, because in Silliman University, we also try to, produce not only globally competitive graduates, but those who have the nurturing and the caring skill, no, to also make a difference in other people's lives. You're correct. You may be the best there is. You may graduate with honors, leader, student leader, and so on. But do you care for others? No? Do you have a heart for service? How prepared are you, Hans, in the challenge that is before you now? Both of you are very young, and you have practically the whole world at your feet. No? How prepared are you, Hans, through your Silliman education, of course, in the many challenges that you will soon be meeting, not only now, but in the future years?
Ma'am, right after I graduated, I really told myself that I have to continue my hunger for learning, because the real world can be very ruthless. It's a very competitive world out there. You have to continually, she said competence. Despite the fact that I have a lot of extracurricular activities, still you have to still continue to professionally develop as an individual, as a person. And so right after I graduated, when I told myself I have to pursue my master's degree, so I'm taking it right now. So
that's great,
I just started last semester. And also the reason why I grabbed the opportunity to work at OIP, at the Office of Information Publications, ma'am, because you have one of the things I also learned to myself is the ability to do self-assessment, to reflect on your skills and the things that you really can do. And I was already thinking of myself as an English teacher. And as an English teacher, we have a lot of things to cover. We have the 4 macro skills, like speaking, listening, and all of those things. And when I was reflecting, I said that I really have to do something about my writing skills, because I am not that confident about my writing skills. So when I was given the opportunity to be the editorial assistant at the Office of Information Publications, I had no doubts. I just have to accept it and grab the opportunity, because it's going to be a learning experience for me. And right now, when you say how prepared I am, I think I will never be prepared for the real world. It's always a process of learning, unlearning, relearning, and then learning things again. So because I was also very funny, because I was looking at Facebook a while this morning. This is really one of the dilemmas right now of fresh graduates. The meme was about a dilemma about experience and then getting the job. So do you get the job for experience, or do you need experience to get the job? So it's really like some of the dilemma of people, right, especially fresh graduates. They go to the job to get experience, or do they get the job to really? So I think that's a dilemma. In my case, I think that also this is a very humbling experience for me, and I think I also thank Sir Mark, especially for really for being so honest with me in terms of what I have to do and what I still need to do. I think I have always been gracious about it, because at the end of the day, it's really about learning, and I'm very happy whenever I get to learn new things. That's really my happiness, ma'am. So when you say how ready I am, I will never be ready, because I will continue to learn.
And that's a very good answer, because if you are complacent, then you don't need to reinvent yourself, or maybe to prepare yourself for something big, because you're already complacent. You're content, with where you are. But yeah, that's very good. Now you're pursuing your master's, and then you're gunning for the big time, and even not stop learning at all, and even unlearning perhaps the many
Unlearning.
things, especially
Many
that
things.
you're now in the workplace. Can you imagine? Now, Xavier,
Yes, ma'am.
being in again, because you're now in a foreign country. How, may I ask you, because I'm really curious, from your communication degree, your mass communication degree, you went into information technology. I can accept that, because
Yes.
it's pretty related. But now you're in the banking sector. Can you imagine?
I know.
Please tell us how you landed in the banking sector.
Yeah. When I finished my journalism degree in Silliman, I always thought of getting something that would match it, to marry it with technology.
That's information
Yeah,
technology.
so the convergence of ICT, information communication technology,
yes.
so I find
ICT,
really useful.
yes.
Now, I end up working in the banking industry because my being a Brisbane International Student Ambassador actually paved my way to be able to work in the bank. Around the 27 student ambassadors in Brisbane, I was lucky to be handpicked again to be the Commonwealth Bank brand ambassador for international students. So when I was still an international student, I promoted to international students to bank with the Commonwealth Bank of Australia, and then my now manager tapped me in my shoulder and said, "You should be part of our team." But it wasn't a walk in the park. It was really difficult as well because you cannot apply for a job straight away if you are on a student visa. So I waited for 4 years to get my graduate visa. Still no good. So I went back to the Philippines. I was crying, "Lord, please give me a sign." I really wanted to work in this industry, which if time would allow me to go back. When I was working as a call center agent in Cebu, I was working for Sprint.
Before
I
flew to Australia.
I met someone from Australia. He was Filipino, so Filipino, and I met him in the barge in Oslo, Cebu, and we were talking about Australia. And then that was 6 years ago. He told me I work for the biggest bank in Australia. I said I kind of thought, you know what, my sister actually works there, but deep inside me, I told myself, I want to be like you someday. Yeah.
Can
And
you
6 years
imagine?
after it happened. Yeah.
Is that Filipino still in Australia now?
I haven't met him. He works in Sydney, but
Oh, I
it's always
see.
about.
Wow, can you imagine?
yeah.
It was your first time
Yeah.
to meet him in that barge?
Yeah, in the barge.
Okay,
Yeah.
but he is in Australia, as you had mentioned. He works.
I met him in the barge in
Yeah.
Oslo, Cebu, because he was
Okay,
on a
yes.
holiday. He's
Yes,
a Filipino,
yes,
but
yes,
he
Filipino working in
working
Australia.
in Australia.
And that was your first and the last time that you met him?
Yeah,
right?
first and the last time.
Okay.
And
Oh,
I
but-
told myself, my sister is actually there.
Yes,
and-
yes,
But
yeah.
what's really inside me is,
Okay.
I want to be like you someday.
Oh my goodness! Can you
So
imagine?
if there's something that you really want in your life
Yeah.
that you'd like to pursue,
Correct,
it may sound cliche, but the universe will conspire to really make it happen as long as you are really
bent on
bent on that one.
Yes.
I find when I was studying also in Australia, I kind of experienced racial discrimination as well because probably the color of my skin, and they would automatically brand you as someone who does not speak English, and especially with my chinky eyes, they think I'm Chinese.
Yes.
So, so I'm just really quiet in the
Are
class.
the
yeah.
Australians really tall?
No. Yeah, they are. That was-
Really tall, huh?
Yeah, average Europeans.
Average, yeah.
Yeah. So at the
but
back-
you're I think
I'm not gifted with that.
smaller. Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So racial discrimination is
racial
present.
discrimination is
Okay.
kind of present, but now more educated you are,
Uh-huh.
the less you experience racial discrimination. Just one instance, we were presenting our subject, our projects at university.
You were a student at that
I was
time,
a student
okay.
at that time, and we were grouped to different like international students with joining other Australians. So there was this one guy. We need to grade ourselves. So 10 being the highest and 1 being the lowest. So one of the guys who had been absent all the time when we have our meetings came up to class and gave me a score of 5. And
Very
then
low.
very low.
Okay.
And then when I was he realized that I was doing my representation of the group. I was presenting our project matter and said, the professor was saying, John, why did you give Xavier 5?
When you did very
Yeah,
well
you-
in the
you did
presentation.
very well. What the teacher did was he crumpled the grade, 5, and everyone was giving like 10. I gave him a 10.
The
I gave
guy
him a
who,
10.
who
The guy
gave you a
Yeah,
5.
yeah.
Okay.
I kind of felt that it's sort of it's a little bit just because I'm the color of my skin.
Yes,
Yeah. And I'm proud to be Filipino as well.
Of course.
Not
of
only
course.
that, now I'm working in the bank. I'm actually the shortest staff member in the bank, but
I
I'm
can
proud of it.
imagine. But you look tall on TV, huh?
Oh yeah.
You look
Thanks to
tall.
TV.
Yeah, it's a camouflage actually.
Camouflage, yeah.
Okay, okay.
And,
So yeah,
going back, I think when you go through all this, it's all having that, being a Silmanian as well, we have that resilience. So put it to analogy, especially us as Filipinos, we were hit by the worst typhoon that was ever recorded in history.
several times. Yeah.
So put it in analogy, I'm like a bamboo. So resilience, whatever storm that comes in my way, I just need to make sure that I can stand. I'll just go back. Yeah.
Resilient like the bamboo, as they
Like a
say,
bamboo, as they
and
say,
very
yeah.
pliant. No, very quickly, Save before I ask Hans. You're the youngest in the bank. The only Filipino, the youngest?
I'm,
or?
I'm actually older than our manager, so they
Oh.
don't, what I love about
Okay,
Australian
okay.
institutions is that they don't care what your age,
Okay,
what age
okay.
bracket
Yes, yes,
you are
yes.
in.
Uh-oh.
In fact, my manager is 29 years old, but they thought I was the youngest because of my
Oh,
looks.
oh,
Because I'm pretty short.
Exactly, exactly. yeah. But it wasn't difficult for you to get into the bank because of your because of your being an ambassador, right? It paved the way.
It paved the way.
Okay.
It paved the way because when that time came, when I was still on a student visa, I waited for another year, and then I finally got my permanent residency. And I still emailed the manager and said, I just want to make sure that I'm not missing out on any opportunities. I'm really interested for the position. And then she told me to come back for another interview, and the rest was history. Yeah.
Yes. May I ask if there is a very strong alumni chapter in Australia?
I think there's a getting stronger in Sydney, but
Okay.
in Brisbane,
So there's an alumni chapter in Sydney.
I believe
yes,
so.
I think
I
so.
believe so,
No?
yeah.
But in Brisbane,
in Brisbane, not yet. Kuya Mo Atega
Yeah.
was wanting to tell me to start one in
yes,
Brisbane.
yeah. But are there many Silimanians in Brisbane? Or
it's increasing,
Yes,
mostly
okay.
nurses.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
nurses,
good.
yeah.
Specifically
From the
in
College
Brisbane.
of Nursing.
Yes, okay. And how far is Brisbane from Sydney?
It's by plane.
By plane,
It's
okay.
an hour and,
Okay.
and a half.
Yes,
travel.
okay. So
yeah.
not too far,
Not too far,
especially,
yeah.
yes. And so if you organize, for example, an alumni chapter, you can incorporate it with those who are in Sydney and perhaps
That's
in
right.
other parts of
That's
Australia
right,
as
other
well.
parts of Australia,
Okay,
yeah.
Hans, being a major in English, secondary education graduate, and as Xavier had mentioned, well, there is discrimination and so on, maybe because of the color of our skin. But, when we speak, I think we can be at par with any country and any person in the world, for that matter. No? Being an English major, Hans, where do you attribute all these skills that we have? No, Filipinos actually generally speak very well, speak very good English.
I think, ma'am, that is something that I think the Filipinos can really be proud of. We really speak good English. Wherever we're placed in the globe, we can speak
Communicate
English.
in
We
English,
can communicate
yeah.
in English, and it's a universal language,
Yes,
right?
yes,
So I
that's
think,
right.
ma'am, I can really associate that with our ability as Filipinos to be adaptive.
Yes, yes.
We're like a chameleon, like we really adapt to change and to whatever is happening in society. And I think that given that we can be very globally competitive in terms of our work ethic and in terms of our values or competence, I think that it has gone from a place where people learning English became a necessity for us. Although it has some consequences as well, because we have neglected our national language at some point. ma'am, no?
Filipino,
Filipino,
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Especially that we speak a lot of dialects. We do not speak Tagalog, which is of course the main proponent of Filipino as a language. So that creates a consequence. But I think if you're looking at it in a global perspective,
yes, that's right.
how we are going to be at par with global standards, I think we can really owe that to us being adaptive. I think being smart as well. I think we can easily relate and
Yes,
adapt with
yes.
other people.
And even if English is our second language, as they say, but we learned it even way back when we were in nursery and onwards, no?
The influence of English
yeah.
really is very very
Exactly.
evident.
Yes,
ma'am.
and especially with the Asianization today, right? So that is where it comes in very, very handy. Save,
Yes, ma'am.
what opportunities are actually open, especially for our young televiewers in Brisbane or perhaps in any other part of Australia? Maybe you can mention it here
Yeah.
so that they can be inspired as well, no?
That's right.
To probably try their luck in Australia.
Yeah. I always get messages through Facebook that they wanted to study in Brisbane. I think there's a lot of Filipinos coming in now. We're number 5 in Asia. I think China being the number 1. China, India, Vietnam
In
is part
terms
of it.
of
International student market, source
okay.
market.
So China is number 1?
China is number 1.
Meaning Chinese go to other countries? to
In,
study, or-
in Australia. In Australia.
in Australia.
Australia,
Okay,
yeah.
so China is number 1.
Number
and
1.
then
China, India, Vietnam,
Vietnam.
Philippines,
Oh.
and Indonesia.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these are the nationalities and these are the
Nationalities, yeah.
countries that
Countries.
actually go to Brisbane in
Brisbane,
particular?
yeah.
Or Australia?
Australia.
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 Okay. And then what's then Philippines and Indonesia?
Indonesia,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And
So
the
opportunities, yes.
opportunities because when they actually handpick like people in terms of work ethics as well, I think Filipinos have the edge because of our knowledge of the English language. And among these ethnic minorities in Australia, I think they prefer Filipinos because of not only because of the knowledge of the English language, we're also able to present to them what we have to offer in terms of our work ethics as well. Yeah, it's funny because I always tell my customers, why do you speak Spanish? I said, Filipinas fue una colonia de España, America también. So I would tell them that it's a former colony of Spain for 333 years.
333 years,
yeah.
can you imagine?
And then we're also a colony of America. So when came the colonization, I think we had the language embedded in our system still. So
It's
I
like
think
a
it's kind
melting-
of helpful as well.
Yeah, melting pot, no?
Melting pot.
Ah,
And
okay.
it also boils down from our education. In Don Bosco, that's where I started to really hone my English skills. And then, no less, let alone studying in Silliman University, the oldest American institution in Asia,
right.
it really helped a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. At Silliman today, we're really also big on Asianization. Huh? And in fact, 2015, ASEAN 2015, and this is really where a lot of exciting things are soon going to happen. Huh? And if not today, perhaps in the very, very near future. And we're experiencing that now, actually,
right.
in terms of faculty and student exchanges, you guys probably being invited to go elsewhere, us teachers as well, no? Being invited to go also elsewhere, as well as vice versa. No?
That's
They
right.
coming in as well, like ASEAN countries. We have quite a big foreign student population today in
Oh, wow.
Silliman University. We
Wow.
have about 300, yes, and still counting, right?
Wow.
And we have now an international student office,
Wow.
yes.
Yeah.
But in Brisbane, Australia, you also have a big stake at inviting foreign students,
Definitely.
right, to Brisbane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is that so? I am curious.
I think it's the number one that's driving the economy, international education.
okay.
Tourism is
Yeah.
just second, because a lot of people from Latin America, they wanted to learn English, and I think compared to America and Australia, in Australia they're able to work at the same time. So
Study and then work,
work
at the same time.
So
That was what you had actually
yes,
done
that's
as
right.
well.
So part of the visa conditions, you are able to work at least 40 hours a fortnight. So 40 hours a fortnight. So that could help you to pay the bills and to also sustain your study expenses as well.
You know, that's
Yeah.
very attractive, no,
Yeah.
Hans? Can you imagine? And I think that's their parang drawing
Yeah.
drawing point, no?
Drawing point,
Because there may be other countries that invite scholars,
That's
no? But
right.
they are there only to study because you have a student visa, right?
Yes,
But
yes.
even with a student visa save,
Yes.
you were able to work as well?
Yes, I was able to work for 40 hours a fortnight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're a bit strict though. So say for example, on the first week you work for 12 hours. You need to make sure on the second week you will have 18 hours maximum. So
18,
it's like
yes.
20 hours a week, but it's not really. It's 40 hours a fortnight. 40 hours
per,
yeah.
per 2
Per
weeks,
2
no?
weeks,
Fortnight.
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
40
that's right.
hours every fortnight,
Every
no? Every
fortnight,
2 weeks.
yeah.
So you study and at the same time work, at the same time. But how heavy is your load as a student? Like
It-
how many subjects, how many units, as how we refer
right.
to it here in the Philippines?
In universities, you actually focus on your degree. So, if my memory serves me right, when I had to do IT, for example, in Silliman, I still have to go through biology, science, mathematics. In Australia, you get to finish the degree for 3 years,
3
but
years,
you'll
okay.
have to focus on straight on IT. So you don't do, yes, a little bit of mathematics,
Okay,
yes, because
yeah,
it's
yeah.
information
And
technology.
maybe
but-
some related courses.
yeah,
okay,
you don't
but-
study Australian history, you don't study
Not anymore.
science, not anymore. You focus on the field,
Okay.
IT. So,
Yeah.
I think
Yes,
also,
yes,
ma'am, that's an
Hans.
implication of the
Yeah.
K-12 because
Okay, yeah.
if you-
Curriculum, yeah, please.
it's really the
Oo.
curriculum
Yes,
because like
yes,
you know
yes.
in the senior high school that's
Okay.
where all our art subjects right now are
Okay.
are
Yes.
cascaded
For the first
for
2
the
years,
senior
right?
high school. And then when you
Yes.
go to college, it's really about your
Correct,
course.
correct.
It's really
Yeah.
about your chosen path.
Yeah.
So
Oo.
I think
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's also-
that's very
That's
good.
right, yeah.
So can you imagine? So they are able to finish their college degree
Yeah.
in 3 years' time
3
because
years'
they
time.
concentrate on
Yeah.
the major subjects, so
Yeah.
to speak. No.
Not only
Okay.
that, if I may add, they
Okay.
have foreign languages as well in K to 12. So when you're year 11, they can study German, Japanese. But when you go to university, you just focus on the degree.
That's
which is
also
really
for
good.
us
Yes.
here.
Because
Hans,
arts,
right?
foreign language, is I think it's an art subject.
Yes,
Yeah.
So I
yes.
think it will be cascaded also to senior high
To senior
curriculum.
high
I
school,
see.
yes.
I see.
And then as what we have been, as what has been harped on all of us, there are 15, no? 15 core subjects, no? Which everyone should take,
Should take.
in
It's-
the next 2 years.
compulsory for
yes,
everyone.
Yes, so
Compulsory, yeah.
whatever track, as they call it, whatever track you may be taking, you have to take all those 15 core subjects
I
in the
see.
first 2 years. So very, very similar
yeah.
to the curriculum as well as the educational system of other countries, no? Not only in the ASEAN, because after all, the Philippines is actually among the last.
Last
la-
two.
Last
Last
two,
two countries
yes.
Oh,
in
wow.
the entire
To have-
world.
Yeah, exactly.
Which country is the last?
To
Ma'am
have
Manoli?
adapted this. Which country is the last
I think
one?
I can't remember, but it's an
something-
African country.
Yes,
It's
okay,
an
an
African
African-
country.
yes.
So it's
But- I see.
Philippines and that
That's
country.
true.
Yeah.
The only ones left.
We're among the last three.
Last three,
So
huh?
the other one I think was ahead than us,
Okay.
and then here we are, and then plus another African, I think,
African
country.
Yeah.
So I think this is really an
Interesting.
opportune time to implement K+12 and then having senior high school. And as I was telling you guys this morning, the senior high school department office was actually busy accepting applicants,
wow.
like processing their papers and so on, because they need to already know which track they're going to take. Yeah, but since we're running out of time, let me see. In not too many words, no, I'd like to start off with Hans first, and then with Xavier, because I'd like especially our young televiewers, to really get some nuggets of wisdom as well as inspiration from you. You're both very young. Looking at you now, not only because I was your mentor, I was your teacher, but looking at you now, both of you actually have focus, no? You know where you're going. Hans knows exactly where he is going. Xavier here has built a career for himself. He also knows what he wants, no? Including perhaps some personal plans, in the future. But that's going to be another topic for another show. But I'd like you guys to perhaps relay, especially to our young Silimanans out there and to our televiewers in general, in not too many words, of course, the learnings or the insights that you can share with them as nuggets of wisdom or as inspiration to all the Silimanians out there who are preparing for the June opening, and also those who have graduated but who would like to also carve a niche for themselves in the professional world. Hans first, and then Xavier.
I think that the only single advice that I can really give to students, also in Silliman, especially in Silliman University, there are a lot of students and the entire aura of Silliman University is very nurturing. But if you don't have that will and that that courage, people can sometimes be intimidating, and that can really hamper your progress. So I really challenge you to really step out of your comfort zone and never be afraid to take risks. That has always been something that I have always been proud of, because I did it myself. Being someone who came from a public elementary school, I come from Amlan. So when I was thrown into Silliman University, it's a new environment for me, and there are a lot of people who can be very intimidating. But if you just really go for it and never miss any opportunities, college life is a laboratory for us. We can always make mistakes, and I remember what Dr. Ben Malayang told me when we had a little bit of a problem in the student government before, and he asked me to go to his office, and I was very afraid because I admitted that I had a lapse in something during Hibalag, and then he said, "We have to celebrate." I said, "Why should we celebrate?" Because we have to celebrate mistakes, because he said this is a very good opportunity for students, and we are not here, when you go into the real world, you must not make mistakes. But here in college, you can make mistakes, because it's where learning becomes, this a great leap for you. So never be afraid to take risks, really, ma'am. If people ask you to think outside of the box, I have my own version. I think people should look inside the box and then disassemble the box in your own possible ways. So you have to be innovative. At the same time, you have to be you need to take risks.
It's really a laboratory. I like the way you put it, Hans. No? Very good, very good. Yeah. And then Xavier.
I think for me, dreams are always renewable. If you want, the first thing to do is find out what you want to do in life. And then once you find out, do something about it that you would be able to attain that. There's so many challenges that might come your way, but always pick up yourself. Yeah.
And here is Xavier, who is actually a living testimony, Hans, of the so many things that he has actually been through. Look at him; he was able to pick up the pieces.
Very inspiring,
Yeah,
really.
very
Thank you,
inspiring.
thank
Another
you,
story,
thank
and in fact, his life story is going to be another episode of #SU, huh?
thank
But
you.
look at him, where he is now, huh? He was able to, put the pieces back together. He is whole once again, making a big success out of his education from Silliman University.
thank you.
So thank you very much once again.
Thank you so much.
This has truly been
Thank
a
you
very,
so much, ma'am,
very
for inviting us.
engaging, very enlightening, also learning experience for me as
yes,
well, huh? Coming from you guys, and I think our televiewers also have appreciated this. So thank you once again. Hans Densil Villahermosa, Godspeed to you, huh? Even
Thank you,
after
ma'am.
the let, but there's still the big world out there, huh? Xavier,
Thank you.
I'm sure this is not going to be the last time again. You will, of course, bound to visit Dumaguete. After all,
Yes.
this is your hometown. And since I hope to see you once again, huh? Maybe in the next 2 years, or
2 years,
perhaps
yeah.
every 2 years you come back.
I think
right?
Father Julius Ciruela would want me to come back tomorrow for Candidates Forum, but I'm not
okay.
so sure
Oh,
yet.
yes,
but
great.
I'm still going to be serving.
Yeah,
the
so I think I
church.
will also be seeing you again on Thursday.
On Thursday,
right?
maybe.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
good. So with that, friends, and thank
Thank
you
you.
once again. Huh? You can actually watch our episode. We have a replay tomorrow at 12:30 noon time, and we can be seen as well on YouTube. So if you missed this particular episode, you can watch us on YouTube. So thank you once again, Hans and
Thank you
Xavier.
so much,
Thank you so
for
much, ma'am.
Xavier,
inviting
Hans,
us.
Mr. Villahermosa, and Mr. Villa Gonzalez. All Villa, right?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
Villa. Sounds
Villa
alike.
houses.
Sounds alike. And we hope to see you again in another live episode of #SU. This has been Cecil Henove bidding everyone a pleasant evening.